Wonderful to have as our speaker today, Rabbi Neil Fleischmann, who I get the opportunity to get to know some and also to ask him some questions that are related to the wonderful world of Jewish adult learning. So, if we can ask you first, in your own words, Rabbi Fleischmann, please just introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm a rabbi. People sometimes ask me, where are you a rabbi? And I say, everywhere I go, because I am a rabbi everywhere I go. It's part of my identity. It's not my only identity. But more important than being a rabbi is being a human and being a Jew, and Jewish learning and wisdom and world learning and wisdom is very, very important to me. And I try to share that wisdom with others, hopefully using humor, stories, listening, things like that.
Thanks, great. So, let me ask you. I'm going to ask you a few questions and look forward to your answers. Your blog often touches on themes of starting anew and finding strength, even when faced with difficulties. How do you yourself personally cultivate and maintain hope, faith, and confidence, especially when navigating life's most challenging moments or observing the struggles of others?
Yeah. Wow. If only I had a good answer to that, I'd be very well off. But I'll give my hopefully decent answer. There's a particular book of Hasidic thought called Nesivo Shalom. It was written by a rabbi who was like the grand rabbi of Slonim from 1980 to 2000, and it's very accessible. And one of the things he says in it is something I go back to all the time. He says that sometimes we talk about the sun not being out, and that's not true. The sun's always out. It just gets covered by clouds sometimes. And he says that's the way it is with our faith and with our connection to God, with our hope, that sometimes it feels like it's going away. It's almost gone away. It's completely gone. But really, it's covered by clouds. And if we could somehow peel away the clouds or even not peel them away, but just remember that the faith is there still under the clouds, just like the sun on a rainy day. I find that's a very, very helpful
Mm,
start.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Based on the world we're living in today and things we're going through, I'm over here in Israel, obviously, and it's having trying to figure that out all the time, going through where people are going through. People are definitely adapting or dealing with this in different lots of different ways and trying to find hope and faith and confidence in the future throughout all these things. So, um, Neil, you're known for blending your rabbinic teachings with your talents as a writer, as a comedian, an actor as well. Sometimes I think.
huh,
So, so how do these diverse roles and perspectives inform your approach to conveying messages of resilience and spiritual fortitude, the important things in life? Like, how does humor and and um, and writing, in what ways do you do that? And do you find that humor, for instance, can be particularly an effective tool in fostering a sense of hope?
yes, yes, yes. There's a rule in improv which I've done quite a bit of. I've been part of an improv group, and the number one rule of improv is yes and. So I just did it, but also in dealing with life, you take whatever comes your way. You don't push it away and say no. You say yes and. And if you're not denying or pushing away what is, but kind of accepting and dealing with what is, I think it makes it easier. And humor, I think, is a good way to deal with what is, to kind of accept what is and negotiate it and lessen the blow of it a little bit. That's my thought.
I think somewhere I read that you were dubbed the funniest rabbi in New York. Is that the
Yeah,
case?
yeah. It goes better when I'm on stage with the mic. When I'm in a situation like this, I'm a little quieter. And comedians, I think, in general, are much more kind of cerebral and serene, quiet than people realize. But yes, I did. I won a contest, and I performed all around at schools and synagogues, fundraisers, all kinds of things, and I love doing it. Yeah,
That's fun. Like stand up, just yourself.
stand up just myself. Yeah,
All right. So
yeah.
what's your favorite joke? You must have a favorite joke to want to.
Well, I like the one I kind of opened with before, that I'm a rabbi wherever I go. But what's some other ones that I like? Let's see. There's a joke that I like about the guy that walks into the library, and he says, "Two hot dogs, please." The librarian says, "Sir, this is a library." And he says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Two hot dogs, please." So I like that one. Uh,
That's
I like the one
that's
about the guy who says he gets pains in his eye whenever he drinks coffee, and the doctor says, "Try taking the spoon out."
enough. Very good. All right, that's great. Um, are you still a counselor at Frisch?
No, after COVID, I realized that the full day or like double day that I was doing there was a bit much for me. So I pulled away, and now I'm kind of doing stuff on my own. I tutor and teach a lot of people and learn and write. I have a weekly column in a newspaper and different things like that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
but it's still very close to my heart. I can still talk about it as if I'm doing it because it's in my
it's
blood.
still.
It's in
How,
my
how long did you do that? How long were you working there at Frisch?
I was a Frisch for 25 years.
Oh wow. Wow.
The last 10 or so, I was also a guidance counselor. Before that, I was just teaching. But I was never just teaching. My main thing was always connections, relationships. Um, I was involved in the poetry club, poetry society there, and I coached the team, competing against other schools.
Hmm.
Poetry in recent years has become as important or more important to me as humor, or even more than humor. No.
Oh wow. Well, let me ask you if you want to go back to that time when you were a guidance counselor at Frisch, and you would be working with high school students. Is there any common way that you felt or issues you would deal with high school students kind of losing their sense of faith? And if that was the case, like how would you work with them? How would you try to help them work through their kind of those kind of moments in their lives?
Yeah. Um, well, um, I think part of why we kind of freak out or lose faith sometimes is a lack of perspective. There's a book called Zoom, and it's just pictures, and they start with the pictures really close, and the last picture in the book is just the Earth as a speck. And to me, the idea of the book is that the more we gain perspective, the more we can relax and better deal with things. So a lot of times our questions are because we're just like stressing ourselves out. And if we could make space, it makes it better. So that's something I would try to help someone with to do, but it's also something I would do in dealing with the person themselves, that I would try to really see them in a perspective. This isn't just a person rebelling or freaking out or questioning. This is a broader person. And between that, looking at the broad picture in general, I think is key. And I think humor helps with that too. There's a whole universe to like laugh at and be joyful about. The more you broaden things, the more you can laugh and be joyful and even deal with the hard times and the questions of faith and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good lesson. A lot of times I guess we're seeing very myopic. It's very much the small thing that's in front of us. And actually, I'm surprised over here. Maybe you have even insights into it. Like the extent to which my experience here has been that in this long war that started on October 7th, for so many people, um, it's actually strengthened their faith, which is kind of surprising, like you would say. Maybe it's surprising everything that the country's gone through, the fears that people have, but yet it's strengthened their faith. Would you have any insights into why that might be the case? From just your thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Hebrew word that's usually translated as why, and it's lama, but it really means like towards what, lama, for what purpose. So I think sometimes when hard things happen, again, like if we just get crushed by it, then we get crushed by it. But if we find meaning and purpose in it,
Mm.
then it helps go along with it, deal with it, and it could even strengthen our faith. We believe everything's from God, then even in the hard times, there's a limad, there's an understanding of there's some purpose. We don't necessarily get it. I'd never be the one to tell someone else like this is why it's happening. But sometimes, even without putting words to it, we feel meaning. Like when I do counsel people, people sometimes say, oh, that must be so, so, so hard talking to people. And the truth is, helping someone during a hard time is one of the most meaningful things in life. I know with my own parents who were always there for me, but it was like them being there for me. And then when I got to be there for them, it made the relationship kind of more even and more meaningful and deeper. And when we're able to be there for each other, it's like one of my heroes. I half jokingly call him like a Hasidic rabbi. His name is Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers. So Mr. Rogers used to say that his mother would tell him as a kid, always look for the helpers. When there's something hard going on, people look at what's hard. But she said, look at the helpers, look at the situation, look at what it's bringing out in people, which is like what you're saying. Hard times bring out like the real metal of people.
Huh. Oh, beautiful. Um, so let's talk more in the context of Jewish learning. Many of your reflections, even on this, in our short time together, and certainly I'm sure in your work as a teacher, as a rabbi, your reflections draw upon wisdom from ancient Jewish texts and traditions. Can you share any specific teaching or story from the Torah, from the rabbis, other Jewish sources that you believe offers particularly powerful guidance for fostering unwavering faith and courage when facing adversity?
Um, yeah, a couple of things come to mind. We're reading the book now of Bamidbar in the desert, and something I saw from someone named Rabbi Avram Aryeh Trugman, who wrote a lot of books, and I really like his ideas. He pointed out that Bamidbar means in the wilderness, but it also has the word medaber in there, talking, and going outside in quiet places is a way to restore our faith. Going out in nature, we hear the talking of the nature and it enables us to talk. A lot of prophets, before they had prophecy, they had experiences outside and hearing like that still small voice, hearing that silence in which there's a voice, I think can affect our faith very much. I also think connecting with people, having faith in God is beyond words. I think that all the answers that are given about the difficulties in life, I think the biggest answer is beyond words. The more we meditate on God, who we can't really define or understand with words, but the more we meditate or pray or walk outside and connect, then we get answers to the questions. But I also find that helping other people, dealing with other people, seeing the faith of other people can be contagious. There's a story I like. I'll try to tell a shorter version of it of a rabbi named Rabbi Eliezer Silver. He went to a DP, displaced persons camp after the Holocaust, and he gathered everyone together, and everybody came, but he wanted to be sure if everyone was there, and he was told one person wasn't there. And he was told that person refused to come. So he went to the person and he said, I get it. You're angry at God. And the person said, I'm not angry at God. I'm angry at one of God's servants. And he told the story how one man in the camp had a sitter. And he thought it was very beautiful. That man was sharing the siddur with everybody. But then he found out that man was charging some of the rations that they had to give him from the minimal food they had to be able to use the siddur. So he said, if someone that could do that, I don't want anything to do with this religion. So Rabbi Silver said, I hear what you're saying, but instead of looking at that one person, look at all the other people, that the most important thing in their lives was to be able to connect with and pray to God, and they were willing to give up for it. And it's a lesson about looking positively, but I think it's also a lesson about finding faith and hope. Sometimes if I can't connect to God, but you're connected to God and I connect to you, then I'm connected to God.
Mhm. Beautiful thought, right? It really is helpful to be around people who have perspectives that are optimistic and hopeful. We had a speaker from Hebrew University, is a professor whose name is Oded Adami Leshen. He's dedicated about the last 13 years of his life to studying hope, specifically hope. And he came and spoke to us recently at a Melton board meeting, and he gave a spectacular presentation about hope. And one of the things that clearly came out of it was that if that hope is one of the ways to breed hope is to go out and help people, go out and be together with other people. He said, like after October 7th, people went out to be with, they were volunteering to do all these things, right? And people asked, well, where'd they get, why did they do that? Well, they went out, they wanted to do something. But once they went out, he said a beautiful, beautiful thought. Once they went out and they're working with all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds, it was like they had a glimpse of what they were all trying to do. What were we trying to get to? Yeah, I'm trying to get to this place where it doesn't matter who I am, it doesn't matter where my background is, how religious I am, not religious I am, it doesn't matter where I'm coming. I can be together with this group of people. And so he said that the going out and helping and being a part of this kind of volunteer initiative gives people hope. It's not that they had hope and that's why they go out and do it. That's the beginning. They have hope and they want to make something happen. But then he says doing the hope, being involved, acting,
Right.
gives them even more hope.
100%.
So
And I think sometimes we can't connect with people because we're trying to debate, but instead of like facing each other and arguing with each other, if we go forward looking ahead together, looking at like the volunteering we're doing, the cause we both believe in, then it helps us to connect without doing it head on.
right, right. It's certainly been. I've seen it with my own eyes. We've seen it over here. It's been quite profound. Okay. Um, so let me ask you about some of the challenges that people face today. So, given your unique perspective as a rabbi in the modern world and one who also is comfortable getting on a stage and doing stand-up comedy, and with so many different experiences that you've had, what do you see as the biggest spiritual or emotional challenges that people face today in maintaining this sense of optimism and belief in a positive future? And how do you believe Jewish wisdom can specifically address these contemporary hurdles that people are feeling?
Yeah. I think there are two things that sound very different from each other, but I think they very much go together, and that's having too much ego and having low self-esteem. And they're very much related. I think a lot of times when we don't believe in ourselves so much, we pretend like we do, and we make ourselves really big. There's 4 books by Rabbi Abraham Twersky that he wrote using Peanuts comic strips. And he kind of analyzed the characters. And he said that Lucy, who's always putting people down, and Charlie Brown, who's always putting himself down, are really dealing with the same problem. They don't believe in themselves. So Charlie Brown's telling people, I don't believe in myself. And Lucy's denying it and telling people, I'm the greatest in the world. I have all the answers. But it really comes from the same idea. And I think there's a saying in Pirkei Avot that says, um, basically it says, if the Ruach HaBriot, if the spirit of people is good with you, then the Ruach HaMakom, the Spirit of God, is good with you. The question is, like, what does that mean? Like, anybody that people like, God likes. And it says the reverse also. If the spirit of people is not good with you, the Spirit of God. So what if someone's annoying to people? God's like, oh, I hate that guy. He's so annoying. Yeah. I don't think it means that. I think the way the Nesilah Shalom, who's really like a life giving source for me. What he says is that it means ruach is a high level of spirit, and people on a high level of spirit, if they really get other people, if they get someone, if that person walks in a room and people that are a good judge of character are like, wow, the room lit up because that person walked in, then God likes that person. And if someone walks in a room and someone kind of sucks all the energy out, then God's not crazy about that person either. And when Nesilah Shalom says, it has to do with what in Hebrew he calls yeshud and bitul hayesh. It has to do with like ego and being. The more we kind of make ourselves small, the more there's room for God, the more there's room for other people. People and God both react well to that, and we react well to that, lowering our ego. And it actually lowering our ego raises our esteem. Ironic as that sounds,
Hmm.
paradoxical as it sounds.
Hmm. And so so when it talked maybe specifically like the kind of hurdles that people are feeling today, a lot of times, I would say in our modern world, um, they're associated with kind of like just burnout, a sense of burnout, a sense of like, don't why am I doing this? What's the purpose of this? What why? It's an amazing because we live in a world. I'm talking about the generally the Western world, blessed with so much, just with the basic sustenance in life, and yet and so connected. Like we have, abilities to be connected with people, both um, the ones around us, but through technology we can stay in touch with our children, our parents, we can stay with everybody. But yet people, you meet them, how are you doing? And they're like, "Eh, you know, like, whatever, I'm okay." But I don't know why don't they just say how great they are? What's your sense of what that's about? What are the greatest hurdles people are dealing with today, and why are they so difficult for them to kind of see beyond?
Yeah, it is ironic. Like when people used to die more from diseases and the world seemed more grim, I don't know, in certain ways people, like you're saying, seemed happier. And now it's like an abundance of riches that kind of spoils us. Um, my grandparents, I don't think they ever thought about themselves. And kind of all I do is think about myself and a lot of us, and it can make it harder. It can make it worse. And there's an approach in the world for people that believe in and go to therapy, but even without it, and it's often very needed, but sometimes we take it too far. We look at ourselves and experience ourselves too much. Like we said before, if you go out into the world, if you help in the world, it helps you more. And
Hmm.
I think also maybe we kind of when it comes to difficult times, especially if Jews are very traditional or what people call Orthodox, people get bogged down with the details. And I think there's levels of being spiritual, and we don't focus on the first level enough. The first level is being human, being truly human means recognizing I'm not an animal. And then after that comes God, and after that comes Torah or whatever book you believe in. And after that comes all the billions of details. But when you spend all your time in the billions of details, you can get miserable. But if you remember, I'm a human being, thank God. Why am I a human being? Because I have a soul inside me. I think that can really help us a lot. And I think we don't kind of meditate on that a lot. And going back again, just to another theme that for me is so big, we don't spend enough time alone in the quiet, unattached to technology, and specifically outside. You really can connect with God best outside.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. It's sometimes In other words, the idea that we're so connected, especially like with technology, or connected. I noticed this recently. I was, I myself, I live on a yeshuv here, a religious Zionist yeshuv, and the people I'm with most of the time, you know, most people, almost everybody here, I see them on Shabbat like they're detached. They're in other words, they're disconnected. Sorry, they're disconnected from all of their. It's a wonderful thing. You can actually say hello, and they're not gonna say, "Hold on a minute, I got." Like, you just can
Yeah,
talk to them. So not this Shabbat, a week before that, I was in a hotel for Shabbat, and with a group, and of course it was painful because we were getting bombed from Iran at the same time and going
uh,
um, into the bomb shelters, etc. But my wife and I were like among the only people that didn't have a phone, and like people could not disconnect themselves. And it wasn't only because of the. I'm not talking about the bombing. Of course, I understand why you want to know what's going on, but I'm saying like the whole Shabbat, I was constantly they were always looking at their palm of their hand for something. And I came home and I said, like I know this is the case, but it was so profound to me. The thought that hit me was that 24/7, these people never do what you just talked about, Neil. They never just spend time with themselves. They're
right.
always spending time connected. And the impact of that is so profound because it really, as we're speaking about it, it makes me think, yeah, that's a big part of the problem. People aren't comfortable. They don't even know themselves anymore because they only know themselves through the connections they're constantly um, investing in the palm of their
Yeah.
hand.
One of the things I like about the rabbi I mentioned before, the Nesivo Shalom, is in almost every essay, excuse me, in almost every essay, he talks about Shabbat. And he believes that this is not controversial. He believes that Shabbat is key to being Jewish, but he really shows it. And part of what it is, sometimes I kind of laugh inside or smile when I see all these things about try to get off the internet and the phone 1 day a week. And I'm like, thank God, I already have that 1 day a week. And it's such a blessing in so many ways to have that quiet, that time.
It's yeah, it's it can't be overestimated the value of that. I can't agree
Yeah.
with you more. One last question, just to finish up our time today. Um, Looking back at your own journey in life, could you describe a time when your hope or faith was significantly tested? And what insights did you gain from that experience? How did it ultimately strengthen your resolve and your ability to guide others through their own struggles?
So in hearing that question, the strongest example that comes to mind is very personal, but I can't think of a better example for me. So we'll see what you and other people think about it, if it's too much or if it's okay. But I'm right now a little over 60 years old, and I've tried in my life to find someone to be with, to get married. I've gotten close, and it hasn't happened. And I don't blame God. I don't blame other people. It's a combination of factors. But I find, and I know a lot of people in the same boat. There's a whole community of either people who were married and someone passed away, or they got divorced, or people that just haven't found someone. And it can question your faith. It can test your faith. I said to a friend of mine recently, "Why don't you pray about it?" And she said, "I think God and I agree that like I've prayed enough at this point, like so many years, so much of it, but." It's never enough to pray, to meditate, to walk outside. And I once, this is a real personal thing, but years ago, I had an engagement and it got broken off. And I told a friend of mine, it happened over the summer. I said, I can't imagine going back into school. People knew I was engaged and they'll think I'm married and I'm not. And he said, think of it as an opportunity to work on yourself and also to teach other people. He said, I see you. You're going on with your life. Said, model that for your students. What better lesson is there that things are not what you prayed for, things are not what you hoped for, not exactly, but you're still living and learning and teaching and growing. So that's a little of my own
Yeah.
stuff.
That is profound. That is profound. Thank you for sharing that with me. It's I'm also I'm a little over 60. Oh, yeah, six. What am I? I can never remember. It depends on which year we're in. It's odd. I think I'm 62. Um, but and the life is definitely not necessarily the way I thought it was going to be exactly. But I appreciate what you're saying. Like at a certain point, what you want to model is the fact that whatever hand we're dealt, um, the idea of getting back on the horse, so to say, and continuing with our lives is something we can model, and an important model for
Did you
others
ever
at that.
did you ever hear the analogy about Holland? It goes around. It was written by a woman that was connected with Sesame Street. And she wrote it about a specific situation in her own life, but I think it applies to so many things, to everything, I think, in everyone's life. She said, imagine you're in a plane and you think you're going to, I don't know what, you think you're going to China. And then the plane lands and you're in Holland. So you're not where you wanted to be. You're not where you hoped the plane was going. But now you're there. And you find out Holland has a lot of nice attractions and good air and good people and good food. And you come to get along with Holland because that's where you are. You come to enjoy Holland very much, even though sometimes in your mind you're like, I wonder if I'll ever go to China. I kind of wanted to go to China. But you're in Holland, so you live a good life in Holland. You
It's the
know?
way to, in other words, that's making the best of it. Isn't just sometimes you can learn that there's amazing things that you didn't even anticipate to find there if you just
Exactly.
seek a way to be comfortable with Holland.
Exactly.
Right. Well, thank you very much.